welcome to the DMC, Reanne. It is such a beautiful joy to just have you here today on this virtual stage. How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm really looking forward to it, actually. Like, I love chatting to you because both our Mercury's in Aries, and I feel like it's quick,
it's like ping pong.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Honestly, no, I just find it great because I've met you. How long did I meet you now? I met you maybe in how long was it? July or was it August when we went on the trip?
I think it was end of July.
So yeah, so we went end of July, and I've had like a handful of conversations with you then. And every time I have a conversation with you, I'm just left like, what? Like what? Like honestly, for listeners, right? I need to let you guys know. Me and Reanne are both a part of House of Black. Shout out Leona, bop bop. We are part of this community. We went for a beach trip at the end of July, and it was so lovely. There was maybe 10 of us or something, and all of us had been doing Zoom on a tarot reading for the past year and a half with Leona Nicole Black, as she has this community called House of Black, and it was the first physical meetup. It was the first physical meetup, and it was amazing. We went to the beach, we went to Margate, and it was such a beautiful time. And I basically mentioned this to say that this is where I had this conversation, this literally soul awakening conversation with Reanne. And I literally came out of the train different. It was like, we went to the beach, we had our fun day, then we went on the train. And I honestly think I came out on the other end like another person. So I was like, since that moment, I was like, babe, you need to come on this podcast. You're gonna come on. I need you.
I literally hope that I do you justice, especially that introduction. I'm like, oh, okay.
no, honey, you're just being yourself. You're exactly who you are, and I love it. And I love how you nurture your authentic voice just so boldly and calmly. And it's just vibes. It's literally just vibes. Yeah. Also, sorry. I was gonna say, if you hear any bang bang, it's fireworks night. So
same here.
If you're hearing that through this through the audio, apologies, but there you go, it's fireworks. But I'm sorry, as you were saying.
No, I was just saying, I hope by the end of this, we just create opportunity for really important conversations, because I think all the stuff that we're talking about is really pivotal to healing and pivotal to growth, and it's exciting. I love the opportunity to talk about this stuff. And it's stuff that I've been working on for so long, personally and in community, so it's great fun.
No, I honestly love that, and I think it just shows you patience, isn't it? Patience with the self and self-expression, and then we're talking our things and we don't realize how many people that will help other talk their things, and it keeps on going, keeps on growing. But I had a few things I wanted to talk to you about in the DMC today, because this is a deep, meaningful conversation. We just wanted to chat and see how things have gone. I actually was listening to a podcast today called The Self-Love Fix, and it was saying, the title of this week's podcast was Understanding your birth chart or astrology is another way of loving yourself. And I wanted to talk to you about this because I find it so interesting. Astrology has really helped me sort of learn about personality, mannerisms, and character, but it's also made me learn about compatibility. And I wanted to see what you thought on that.
I think for me, what the birth chart really taught me is that again, it's not trying to make a segue to this, but it's taught me a lot about shadow and light, and about how everything can be potentially a restriction, but also potentially your superpower. And the way that these things like these aspects relate to each other can really affect basically how you move in the world. So I basically see it like a recipe card, right? And it's just like a recipe card, and then you've just got to make the cake with the ingredients, isn't it? And I just find it just fascinating knowing what you have to work with, because everyone's birth chart's so different. So everyone's got different things to work with, and it's not just the signs, it's also the houses. It's so complex. And I think when I learned that, I can work with Gemini and my moon in this way, for example, as a Gemini moon, it really helped me understand how I can use those things to forward my growth. And so I think when I learned about astrology, it made the way I process things make sense, and it made the way other people process things make sense, and it made us be able to understand each other in another language. It gave us words and a map to kind of work with each other when it comes to compatibility, but it also gave me like a map of myself. And as an intellectual thinker, I like having that like resource to navigate myself, because it allows me space to kind of both have a direction, but also to do whatever I want with that. Like, just because like my moon's in Gemini and someone else's moon in Gemini, we can do completely different things with those ingredients. Do you know what I mean? So like, I really just see it as a tool of like another tool of growth, another tool of expansion, another tool of like self-reflection, and another tool of like both shadow and light work. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's an amazing thing.
No, that honestly, like, you're just speaking, I was like, yeah. Yeah. No, you're so right. Like, I literally was listening to this podcast, and I loved like I loved how they sort of described it as well, because a lot of people just look at their sun sign, right? But having the same sun sign as someone is like being in the same country as someone. Yeah, you live there, but that doesn't mean that you do behave in the same way. That means act in some way. That means that you have a commonality, and it's just using your birth chart, using this understanding of how even the planets interact with each other to like see different aspects of yourself. Like, I find it quite interesting because like I've got a lot of Aries in my chart, right? And Aries are initiators, fast thinkers, like forward movers, and like quite energetic, assertive beings, right? But when I look at other charts, it's majority Pisces, and I'm like, oh, I see this like fiery, watery, like dynamic, but it's very obvious in different like environments that I'm in. So like, let's say when I've had conversations with you, I'm there with my Pisces self, like, well, oh, like I'm really like, I just want to digest and absorb all this information that you're sharing with me, because I'm really excited with how companionship, relationship, interaction can like develop into something else. But for most cases, with people that probably don't know me as much, they probably see the Aries in me first, because they just see me doing all this random creative shit, just keep on going, boom, 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 boom. But I find it really interesting. And also getting to know you has also given me an appreciation for, more of appreciation for the earth signs.
Oh, really? Oh, like, I love earth signs, man. Like, I don't know. What I really enjoy about astrology is just how, again, like the complexities of like the actual birth chart compared to sun sign astrology. I also like how if you are really engaging with the signs, you see both the positive and negative traits and how they come up in you, and also like how, I don't know, it's just really interesting. Like, for example, Taurus, the stereotypes as well are also like really like hilarious, funny, but also can be very unhelpful when they pigeonhole you. Like, so for example, Aries is a really good example, like a action-based initiators, the warriors, but they're also so sensitive. Like, they're so sensitive, but no one ever talks about like how sensitive Aries is, right? And the same with Taurus. Taurus is always resting, lying down, eating food, when but in reality, as a Taurus, like, we're literally like so hardworking, and also like literally so funny. Like, one thing, like Virgos is another one. Like, earth signs are all hilarious, I love them, but like Virgos, like hard workers, I was like, I've never laughed so much than a Mercury ruled sign, right? Virgos are hilarious, and I just like, yeah, I adore the complexities of each sign. And again, it shows us about the messiness and the complexities as humans, because it's just like, it depends what you choose to nurture and what you don't. And like, it was same with the sun signs, that is there as well, all the astrology signs and where they sit. And another thing I love about astrology is also, like, I work with astrology with myths. I love myths and stories.
Yeah.
So I love to attach the stories of the archetypes within the way the movements, it adds to me in creativity. So like Aries being Aries, for example, and how they, like, Aries moves as the god of war, or like the moon being like Artemis, or like just like Pluto being Hades. Like, I just love creating the characters and stories for the planets, and also seeing how that interacts with the signs that they're in. And I just really like it. Really adds more depth and like mythical, like just more depth to the whole process, because I find stories are such a good way to attach to the subconscious. And then when we're dealing with the subconscious, we're dealing with again like the shadow. Without like, and we're dealing with a much more rounded picture, a much more fuller archetype than like just Taurus are stubborn, lazy, and like, do you know what I mean?
No, but I love that. Like, it's actually quite funny that you say that, because you know, Eric from Sex Education, Nukati Gatwa. No, maybe it's Chuti Gatwa. He basically was saying, like, when he's an actor to help get into the role of these characters, he learns about their star signs, and Eric is a Leo, so you see him like shining, bold, sensitive, but also colorful, and it's like being able to understand your mannerisms in like a more of a nuanced way. I also find this interesting as well, because like, you know how some people might like shit on one sign or shit on like a characteristic, etc., etc. It's like, we have all the signs within us. If you do a birth chart reading, like you'll acknowledge what signs you have in us. And it's like, if you don't like this sign, then you don't like this aspect of yourself. And like, we can all be guilty of it. Like, I feel like even to do with like, relationships with different people. So like, my mum is a Gemini, right? She's let me know about Geminis, all my like her mannerisms, her articulation, everything's about Gemini. So like, I have a relationship with Geminis that is a little more like, it's more assertive than it needs to be, just because my mum's a relationship with the Gemini, you know? Or even like Scorpio. We're actually in Scorpio season now. This is transformation, rebirth, you know, it's so powerful, you know, Scorpio season, with alchemy and like moving through darkness to light. And like, as a previously emphasis on previously, because I'm definitely getting better, but previously emotionally unavailable person, Scorpios intimidated me. Scorpios terrified me. I was like, get that shit away. So it just shows you how it invites you to learn what you like, what you don't like, what you see more in yourself, what you don't see, and like, the strengths and weaknesses are just infinite.
Yeah, and also like you said, like when you deal with astrology in the humanistic way, I think it's called humanistic, which is more about the transits than your actual birth chart. You recognize how like each single sign has such an impact on you, like not even so, for example, what you have in that sign, but also how that transit affects your day-to-day living, right? So like Libra, like who can hate Venus in Libra? It's such beautiful energy, right?
Literally, like, everyone's vibes.
Yeah, like who can hate Jupiter and Pisces? Like the moon in Cancer. Like there's just like some such beautiful energies throughout the year, throughout the month, depending on like what planet you're dealing with. That again, it just adds. It's just good to appreciate like what each sign and what each transit can do for you. Like for me, as a heavily moon ruled chart, like just because of how many signs I have in Cancer, like I am very sensitive to the moon's transit. So I've decided like to make the most out of that is to make plans around when the moon is in certain signs, right? Because if the moon is in Sagittarius, I want to speak, I want to be speaking the things, right? When the moon is in Cancer, I want to lie in bed and just be with my emotions. Like when the moon is in Leo, like I might want to go out and stunt on these hoes, do you know what I mean? Like but like but like that one transit, that just moon transits, and because I'm a heavily, like I call myself, like I have my big three, which is like sun, moon, rising, none of them in Cancer, but I call myself an honorary Cancer because the moon is one of the most significant like planets in my chart, so which means like my moods can very much change. But then what if you can use those transits, like for example Scorpio season now, to do the shadow work that we're going to be talking about, if you can work with that, it becomes so much easier. You're working with flow, you're working with time, you're working with nature, you're working with, and this is what our ancestors did. Do you know what I mean? This is like nothing, everything should be in flow, like it should be with the seasons. And we're now going into a stage where everything's quieting down, where Scorpio is like inviting us to do a lot of the darker, colder work. And it's easier to do it now than it would have been in May. Do you know what I mean? So like why, like when we learn like how to work with the transits, again, we learn to appreciate what each sign can bring us within ourselves, right? And also like yeah, just have a deeper appreciation for like the people who also specialize and have those signs intrinsically in them and therefore already are good at those things.
Yeah.
And the one thing I say, you don't dislike anything in other people that is not in yourself. So
Amen.
like you said, right? So if you are if you feel uncomfortable around a Scorpio, or like Libras annoy you, or this, and like there's probably some deep work that needs to be done about why those things annoy you and what it is that is coming up for you. But like, I'm sure we'll get into more of that in like when we're talking about shadow work in general.
No, you're right. It's so true, because even without astrology giving us the framework to identify those things, someone might not like me or might not feel comfortable around me because I'm a bit of a chatter. I'm a bit of a talker, but it's only because they haven't been able to have the opportunity to exercise their conversation or exercise their talk, and therefore they don't like me, and it's like, I think that's the blessing with having things like astrology or tarot or like all these different tools to help you understand something, because it's just a framework. It's like we're all learning the same lessons, but we're going to have different ways of getting us there. And I just find that super interesting.
Yeah, and it mirrors you as well. And mirroring for me is such a huge part of healing, like because we probably, a lot of us in our lifetimes have not had people validate us in our experiences, right?
Sorry, I don't mean to laugh. Well, because this is what happens when we talk. You talk to me and I'm like, ding, ding, ding. And I'm getting all these flashbacks of all these times when I've met people, but I haven't actually met people. They're just old versions of me. And then I'm going through another karmic cycle with them, because it's like, have you put in this lesson?
Yeah. Yeah, but like even in that sense, like trying to test you, like we can have them as tests, but also it can be validating. Like for me, when I first started doing tarot, for example, I had never had someone go to me, yeah, you're hurt, that's what this is. But putting the 3 of Swords and seeing I was hurt and then being hurt, I was like, wow, this is mirroring my feelings. So it's validation, and then it becomes a process that I can heal from because it has been acknowledged, right? And I think sometimes astrology can do that. It's acknowledging that, for example, if Saturn is in your 3rd house, you're going to have issues with communication, right? And you need to work on that. And it gives you that validation, that mirroring, to be like, okay, I can see this very clearly now. Let me work on this, right? And because when we're kids, if our parents had not like, oh, did you hurt yourself? Okay, like I could see that hurt. Like, how can we make this better? Which a lot of us didn't have for whatever reason. We don't know how to do that. We don't know how to, there's not a voice inside of us validating us. So external validation becomes the only way that we can learn that within ourselves. And then like things like tarot, things like astrology, like these healing tools, they give us that bridge, do you know what I mean? And like they give us that relationship with like maybe our ancestors or maybe like the spirit or whoever it is, and we're able to create that relationship. So it's so powerful. All these things are powerful, even if you don't believe them or you think it's a pseudoscience or like whatever. Like it's very powerful to just have a tool of healing. Like I don't see it as any different as any other tool that might be given to you. I think if it's done in a community-based way and not an individualistic way, and it's done in a way that like is just gentle and filled with compassion, then it can be a very powerful tool of change. Like it's fantastic. Like I adore it.
I love that. I honestly love that. It just you're saying all the things. Honestly, that was great. Thank you.
No worries.
One of the next things I want to talk to you in the DMC is this idea of toxic traits, right? So I'm sure you saw my little IG story. And I basically asked the Talk family, what is your toxic trait? If you do have a toxic trait, do you hide it or try and change it? I got loads of answers. I got like laziness was one, not showing compassion to myself, letting things build up over time when I could have spoken about it when it first occurred. And I brought it up because I feel like in this sort of day and age, we don't, well, number one, nobody posts their failures, right? So nobody or most people don't realize that I think we live in this day and age where people are trying to be the best that they can be and forget that mistakes happen, failures happen, discomfort happens, and maybe not even in discomfort, maybe things aren't as shiny as it seems. Like, yeah, happy that this has happened, or I'm showing kindness here, but that doesn't mean that there's not frustration in my body like for the rest of my life, you know. And I wanted to talk about toxicity or toxic traits in a way that was like accountability and proactive, because I think when we talk about the sides of us that we'd rather keep on hidden, then we release shame. And when you shame reflect, when you like, how do I say this? When you shame, like when you like reflect shamelessly, you're able to sort of show yourself compassion and move forward. So my question is for you, do you have any toxic traits?
I have tons of toxic traits, and it's so funny. Like about like I'm going to only go to focus on one. Like I think everyone has tons of toxic traits because again, so one thing I'm going to say before this, because I really think it's important, and if you ever work with me in my spirituality like coaching or whatever, one thing I always try and say is when we're doing healing or any form of conversations like this, we have to do it in a system-based angle. Like in my opinion, we cannot ignore how systems like capitalism, white supremacy, patriarchy all affect us and the choices we make, right? So I just want to like use that as a framework with how I discuss things like this. But also like a lot of this is very closely linked to shadow again, like, right? So it's again, like you said, it's the parts of us we try and hide because we might feel shame around them, or they don't seem they're appropriate. Like, and when I'm talking about these two things, is what I mean is a lot of these things, these toxic traits are based on, or could be based on, what society has deemed toxic, and then they get pushed into the shadow and then come up it get pushed in the dark, and then it comes up as toxic traits because they still need to come up, right, in some way. Right, so like when you're thinking about things like laziness, for example, is it laziness, like, is it, or is it like a deep struggle with capitalism? Like, do you know what I mean? Like, and I always think when we're looking at things like compassion, it's not just for example taking away accountability at all, but the easiest way to look at compassion is to understand that there's other things happening as well as the personal process that we're going through, and that shame is a lot of the time projected on us by society, not something that we inherently feel, right? So like I'm going to say that, and then what I'm going to say my toxic trait is, like with that framework, is I'm so self-centered, like to like to the extent like I can be very self-involved, right? So a lot of the time and I have been very self-involved in the past, and a lot of time it is just about thinking about me, and I think that comes from a place of like trauma where I've had to worry about me because no one else was looking after me, right? So I decided like, okay, like how am I going to put myself first in all these situations? Like, how am I going to look for my best interest? So it means in conversation, I might just want to get my point across. It seems like I might not be listening, not very good listener sometimes, right? I've had to learn it, right? And it might be just like, it might come across like I'm bringing everything back to like how I experience it. One of the things that has come, like, so that is a very, like, again, toxic trait, and in interpersonal relationships can be very difficult to deal with if it's not managed, right? And I put my hands up in, like, even with my partner now, like sometimes I will not respond properly because I'm just thinking about how I want to respond as opposed to listening or holding space. And it's something I'm very much working on. And even in the work I do now, which is like tarot, like reading and spiritual coaching, I've had it's taught me a lot and given me the avenue to be able to do that, right? But when we talk about like what accountability for that, I have to take accountability to try and be better. But also what I can realize is if I bring that to the light and accept that as my toxic trait, then it becomes my superpower. And what I mean by that is that, like, all of a sudden, no, like that same toxic trait also means that I'm really self-reflective, and I'm always thinking, how can I be better? What have I done in that situation? And so like it's also fueled my growth. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's really fueled my growth because I'm always sitting there thinking, how can I be better? Like, what did I do wrong in that situation? Oh, like how and then it becomes if it, again, done in the lens of compassion, because it can also become too much, and that's where balance is always important. And the shadow, like, balance. It becomes important to just use it as a tool for growth. Like, so again, like something like laziness or something like procrastination and all these things that are very, very key words that scream white supremacy to me, but I can go into that another time if anyone wants to talk to me about that. Like might be just things that actually allow us peace in certain situations that we need to do, and the way to maybe deal with them is different to then shaming them, like and it might be more just giving space for those things to show you what their purpose is or why they were there in the first place. And it would be different for everyone, so I can't, like a lot of the time, like laziness has been, I've felt lazy as like, for example, and then I've just realized that actually I'm not lazy, I'm just, one, I'm disabled, isn't it, like I'm tired, and two, I refuse to I don't see rest as laziness, like, and also productivity is a social construct that is based on me being a workhorse, and like obviously, like if I'm lazy and my life is like is worse off from it, right, then that's when I have to start looking and be like, okay, so I have the tool to rest, and that's a very powerful tool, because a lot of people don't know how to rest, but how can I manage it in a way where it gives me both that space, but also can allow me to grow, and also I'll be very careful when people are called lazy, because I think sometimes it's a projection of people who can't relax, like but like this is just my whole thing, like, but like I just don't think laziness exists, basically. So when that person said I'm lazy, I'm like, I personally don't think laziness exists. I think sometimes, most of the time, it's trauma, or it's like someone projecting to you because you're lying down that you're not doing something productive. Do you know the brain is like, the imagination, creativity is so productive. You could do so much lying down. Like a lot of things happen in stillness. A lot of things happen in stillness. So please, like meditation, if you're meditating, it'll be productive, but if you're lying down, it's lazy. Please, like, reframe. Do you know what I mean? Like it's just
honestly, like, it's so funny that you say that, because I was literally saying to my mum yesterday, Mum, you do not know rest. You do not know rest. We've been cooking literally since, let's say, like 2 till like 3:30. 4:30, we sit down, we eat, we're enjoying, and now she's like, now watch this. I was like, you move too fast. I think I'm gonna be sick. Like, I genuinely think I'm gonna be sick, because my body, my tummy hasn't been digested properly yet. The food isn't digested properly, and you want me to go. And I was just like, Mum, you need to rest. And like, it's so funny because, like, I'm maybe paraphrasing, hello, paraphrasing the quote, but it's like, my mum has birthed her healing, right? So like, there's things that I'm doing that I'm forcibly teaching her, whether it's rest, whether it's putting herself first, and all of these things. And I find it really interesting how, again, society has like outperformed productivity to make us feel like we always need to catch up. But I'll be like to her, Mum, aren't you tired? Like, you've been doing things for the last 3 days. Are you not tired? She's like, tired this, da da da. I was like, and I'll even say to her, like, Mum, I need to rest. She's like, rest. Okay. I'm like, okay. But like, no, thank you for sharing, because that, I feel like you just hit so many points, and I love it, like, when you talk, because like you talk, right, and then you go ding ding ding, and you're like going from so many themes, then you pull it all together. So I really appreciate you, like, just sharing your story. Toxic traits, man. Like, I feel like there is just so many. I think I'm gonna talk about the one that I shared on Instagram, though, because I think it's just such a it's such a loud one for me. But I give people strikes in silent. Like, people can do things and I'll be like, noted, but I could communicate it with them. I don't always, just because I CBA. Sometimes it's shock, sometimes it's trauma, sometimes I say it and I let it go, but I note things. And if it happens again, it's noted. If it's happened again. So people think that I'm really quick to cut people off, but really, in reality, I'm have flashbacks of X, Y, and Z that happened previously. So that's why it's quote unquote toxic trait, because I've got strikes against the person, a situation, or like whatever.
To be fair, that just sounds like boundaries, but
that is okay. So that's definitely true.
I mean, obviously communication is very key, but also, like, sometimes, like, how much energy do you want to put to like nurturing a relationship if you're not 100% sure whether it's worth that? Do you understand what I mean?
Look, God, giving me therapy today. Whoa. It's true. It's true.
Yeah, like sometimes I think it depends on the closeness of the relationship. You don't owe everyone communication. You don't owe everyone like a lesson unless it's really upset you so much that you have to get it across, or it's overstepped that boundary. But like for me, it's like you're putting the boundary up, and as it's overstepped, you're like, okay, like no. And obviously communication is always better, but like also protecting your peace is also very good, So I get it. It's like why it's toxic, but I also feel like, again, if you can work on that and nurture it, you could have what it's showing me is someone who is very clear about where they stand in their boundaries, and who doesn't want people around that are just not in alignment with them. Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's 100%. Fair. People are not, like, people shouldn't be disposable, and they're not, but also people are not entitled to your energy, and everything is a balance in it. Like, so again, balance. Yeah. Like, so I'm not just saying, I'm not like dismissing it. Like, if it's toxic, of course, only you can tell how toxic that is and how it's affecting your relationships. And obviously, like, you shouldn't really like be ghosting people, because that's what it could look like, innit? If it looks like ghosting.
Okay, you know what? You've actually given me an example of something. So I'm going to share 2 points with you. Okay, so the first point, let's say if I haven't made them aware of my boundaries, I've just put a strike up, right? So I have a strike, third strike, you're out. And now I'm phasing into the background like Homer Simpson meme. And basically, I was talking like on IG, and I was like, oh, are you going to hide this? Are you going to change this? And I said, honestly, probably not, because right now, yes, it might be presented in a quote unquote weird way, but really it's coming from my instinct. It's really coming from my intuition. I might have a trauma response with how I reflect the communication. However, it is coming from my instinct. And now I just need to pray for discernment to make me more comfortable in sharing those boundaries when they lie, but also not questioning these boundaries as well. Because one thing that I noticed when I was in therapy is that I'll have an instinct and then I'll do the most to then justify the instinct. I could just be comfortable with the instinct, you know? And again, it's a strike. I'm doing a strike for a reason. Either my mind, my body, or spirit has put the strike up. So it's there for a reason, but then life will have you doubting yourself, gaslighting yourself to like be like, oh wait, am I sure? Am I not? Am I this? And then this is where the strikes add up, you know?
My question is, why are you giving them 3 strikes? 1.
That is true. But I think that comes with life practice, because one thing that I've realized, I've been more patient in how do I say it? I've had more patience with people that I do know than when I don't know them. Sorry, but
well, that makes sense, because you owe, like, when you're in relationships with people, whatever that type of relationship is, you do owe them more compassion and more like leeway. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, that you have to have, because that's the time where you do have to communicate the boundary, and you do have to like, but like with strangers, like there's no like reason why you should communicate. You have to communicate the boundary. However, I do feel like ghosting in any sense is never the good thing to do. Like, you can just say to someone like, I don't really want to be friends. I think we all ghost. Like, I think if we were realistic, and I think that is a very societal toxic trait. I think we consume people, and I think because we're so used to consuming everything, we think we can consume human beings. So we ghost because we just want to drop it, right? Yeah. Because that's what we would do if we bought a coat and we didn't want it anymore. We'd just throw it away.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting to a dangerous stage in society where we're like doing that with human beings, and then this is why the rise of ghosting is happening, or the rise with like not respecting like people's right just to have like an understanding that, like, you know what, I'm not interested anymore. Like, but also like people react really badly to that, so then you're just like, I could avoid this and just step away, right?
No, but I love how you shared that, because it's literally collective. It's a collective toxic trait that we've all adapted to.
Most things are, and this is what I mean. If you're not seeing these things from a societal lens, or from the lens of like white supremacist capitalist patriarchy, or like any of those tools that are because like there was this tweet I saw like ages ago, or like this thing that was like trauma will become collective, trauma becomes collective, and then it becomes a culture, and this is what's happening. Like it becomes like a culture, and like the culture has been initiated by these systems of oppression, and then it becomes individual. So it was opposite way around. So the oppression becomes collective trauma, which becomes individual trauma, and that becomes like the culture. So like this is why we're all collectively traumatized in some way or the other, because the umbrella of systems of oppression is literally just creating these habits, right?
Yes. No, you're honestly, as you're talking, like I'm literally there like gobsmacked, like gobsmacked. I'm being like, oh my God. It's making sense. The math is mapping.
Because we take too much responsibility. Like obviously interpersonally, we have to take responsibility with the way we are, always have accountability. But I think when you frame it from an understanding that it's bigger than you, your compassion for yourself is be able to be extended, because you're working, and you also understand your challenges, because when you are, for example, going against that toxic trait, it's then becomes a challenging of the whole system, not just that one person. And then that one person is not just representing that person, they're representing the system of oppression that they're supporting, and that is supporting their actions, right? And I always think with like things like shadow, toxic trait, and all these things, they're all based on what the current morality is at the time. Like again, it's just an ever shifting thing. Like and what's exactly like, for example, like boundaries have become such a big thing. Like they weren't a big thing like 20 years ago. Like they should always have been a big thing. Like don't get me wrong, but again, like I think like again something like boundaries is again such an individualistic thing, and realistically it doesn't work in community settings if it is done in such a rigid way that there's no room for leeway in either way. Like what's other examples of just things that have just changed over time? There are just so many things that like we wouldn't have done in the past and now we would do, or things that we would have done in the past that we no longer do. It changes because morality is it's a flow, it's ebb and flow, isn't it? Like and it's and a lot of the time that is based on what suits society or what suits these systems of oppression. Like again, environment is a key thing. Like back in, they didn't care about the environment. Now environment and capitalism has become a thing, and everything is in. And it's just like,
it's funny that you say that, because I literally said to my mum, I was like, Mum, they've been burning fossil fuels since you were born. They've been burning fossil fuels since you were born, and probably long before that. So why are they still teaching it to me and others right now? Do you know what I mean? You see all these people, the CEO, I can't even remember whatever it's called, but the summit, and it's like, you guys could have been there a long time ago. Don't be.
No, I can't even talk about COP26 because I'll actually get angry. Like I genuinely can't talk about it. Like okay, I have to no, we can't talk about it because honestly I'll be fuming. Like how can you fly with the cognitive dissonance? You fly in private jets to I can't.
People are mad. No, people are mad and they have nobody to tell them. People are mad and they have nobody to tell them.
And then not a single Indigenous leader. Like I can't.
Yeah, no, the world is mad. The world is mad.
Everyone is mad, and they're just, and you know what? Like, if we speak, they'll say we're speaking, as Kelechi says, and I can't.
Literally, no, I can't. Literally, as you said. No, honestly,
every advert you see is green capitalism, and it's disgusting. You'll be watching TV and it'll be like, oh, save the planet. I was like, you know how we would save the planet if we just stop doing so, like if these big 5 companies just stop doing this. I'm not gonna buy, but like, oh I can't talk about it. Like I can't.
No, I don't blame you because that's the thing, it's an emotionally provoking thing, especially it's like, whoa, just especially like I see life as in like you've got all these big people making decisions and you've got all these little people on the ground having to like experience the brunt of those decisions, and depending on the intersections you are, the worst outcomes it's going to be for you, and it's just so frustrating. So like I respect the anger. I appreciate the anger because it just shows that you care. It shows that you care. Oh, okay. So you know what? I know we're gonna go into the episode in a minute, but we're just chatting away, and I'm really enjoying this conversation. So I wanted to I'll tell you this tweet, right? And I want to hear your response to it. All right. I just want to hear your live response. Okay. I just saw the quote. I just saw this quote. It said, "If you are not fed love on silver spoons, you learn to lick it off knives."
Okay, so there's no way I can answer this in a way that's not very deep and very depressing.
Oh,
No one knows how to love.
yeah.
Like, I just don't think we have been, like, I think again the culture of our society does not encourage love, and therefore it encourages everything around love, like family and marriage and nuclear family, like again, like procreation. It encourages everything else, but you never see people, like, even I hear like little, like, you know, patriarchy will have little girls being like, I really want to get married, and you'd be like, don't you want to love? Like, that it never comes into conversations, right? Because love is the main reason that I believe we're on this earth, like the number one reason we're on this earth. I don't think there's anything else we want more. But again, systems of oppression have taught us that it's not love that we desire, it is all that is family, and that because that helps capitalism be able to procreate. Like, again, another system, right? Yeah,
no, but it feeds onto each other. You're talking about a ripple effect, and it's interesting because it's like you got a system, and then people are like, I don't want to say not educated, but we kind of just move blindly to the system unless we question, or like we do that reflection, we do that shadow work to be like, no, why do I want this? What is beneath this? You know?
And the thing is, it's like love. And again, like, what is love? Like, I think, and I'm reading, like, two books that I've been reading about love recently are The Road Less Traveled and All About Love by Bell Hooks, right? And the things we see as love and we've been taught as love is rarely love. Like, so for example, like parents punishing us and telling us they love us, like, is punishment part of love? I don't think so, right? I think that you like, so if you think about that as a main thing that we've all experienced, like discipline, punishment and stuff, and that's been shown as love to us, how are we meant to know how to love? Do you know what I mean? Like, how are we meant to create love? Like, love is about spiritual growth. It's about nurturing someone as they are. It's about like being the guardian of them, but not being their owner. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's about
restorative. It replenishes you. It supports you. It's like you guys are moving in different directions, but it's like independent to each other. You're not living. You're not loving each other into each other. You're loving each other for who you are, and you're just literally. It's for whatever. It's just forward.
And I definitely agree in that quote. If, like, so for example, that quote is right. We need to show love to understand love. And the massive problem we have nowadays in relationships is that no one knows how to love. So it's a shit show, isn't it? Like, so like, obviously, and then we will accept less of a love because we will not we don't know what love is. But I think before we can get to this thing about love in a silver spoon, what is love? Like, a lot of things that we think are love as a concept is not true, right? Like, so I always say about myself and like my relationship that I'm in, that I want to reimagine love because I've never seen a relationship in front of me that I want, because they're all, none of them are true to me. Like, do you know what I mean? Because they're all based on this patriarchal idea.
Sorry, you know that song by Wizkid?
But I want to reimagine it again. This is maybe my Sagittarius energy coming in, but what is love to us? Like, what can we create? Like, what is the boundless boundless, like, expansive love that we can have that allows us to both be safe and also be free? Do you know what I mean? Like, I think 100%. We're here I think we're all here to experience each other. Like, we're all experiences, but we want to own everything. We want to own people, and we see love as ownership. Even our children, our children are ours. And it's like, nothing is yours, no one is yours. You can marry someone till you're like dead in the ground, they still don't belong to you. They can leave you at any point. And if we understood love like that we are just here to experience people, and that we have to love each other in a way that makes us both happy until it doesn't, and then you can either work on it or you can leave, we would have more respect for the people we love, because we realize they're not bound to us, they don't owe us anything. And I just think like, I agree with that quote in the sense of like, but I also feel like love on a silver spoon, what is that? Like, what is that? Like, it doesn't exist to me, like, in the way that I see it. And I think, like, again, we are a generation, we are relearning what love is, whilst also being severely traumatized, most of us in some way, by our lack of love, right? And then, like, trying to find that in other people, like, and then it's a lot. It's a very heavy topic. I really recommend, again, reading Bell Hooks or like reading Road Less Traveled, because I think they really encapsulate like what true love is. But I think in reality, like, we don't know, and we have to build that, and we have to find, and again, it looks different for everyone as well, because everyone has different needs.
No, that was honestly such a great response. Thank you. The quote is from Lauren Eden, The Lioness Awaken. And yeah, you're right, because what is love on silver spoons? What is that? Like, I don't think that's healthy. I think that's like codependent in every, if anything, because like
It could be, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it could, because like love is not one size fits all as well. It's like, and especially I think if you've experienced conditional love, right, you don't have a you have a distorted or reframed approach to love. You might think love as endurance, or love as settling, or love as like all these traits that don't let you expand to the being that you're meant to be on this earth. And I think like, because so many people well, not okay, so let's say like society might encourage like women to be submissive, whereas they but let's say society encourages like women to be submissive, and like women want to be independent for themselves, they want to take control of their own lives. What does that mean for the people that they're dating, regardless of like what who they are dating? If they were like in a heterosexual relationship, they're gonna feel that
Patriarchy.
yeah, they're gonna feel the patriarchy like on their neck. Do you know what I mean? But it's interesting to me, because it's like everybody's out here like, oh, I want love, and like we need to be open, we need to be willing to love, because like at the end of the day, love is the only thing that we're really here for. Like it actually transcends everything, like it heals everything. Like
it's triggering as fuck.
So triggering.
Like, and this is what I mean about love on a silver spoon, babe. Do
you know what it is? You know when you're feeding a child and you go, oh, it's like I'm feeding it. That's what
like for me, like for example, what her love has been to me is like it's been pouring. Like, so for example, I use this analogy a lot, but like when it comes to when I talk about what it's been like finding a love that gives me the like I am the container, the love is what's been poured into me, the water, and at the bottom of that water is the oil and the sediment that is my trauma, right? And as it pours, as the water and love is poured in, all of that rises to the surface and it triggers me. And then I have to begin to be able to seep through that to figure out, like, it creates a container for, it creates the abundance for healing, right? So the silver spoon,
this is amazing.
No, but the silver spoon is like kind of saying to me, like, like love is to an extent endurance, but not hard. Like, and that's what I mean. Like, it doesn't have to be hard. It's the container for the most beautiful healing, but it's not easy, because you meet the person you love, and all of a sudden your traumas, that you're dealing with their traumas, you're dealing with your traumas, you're not having to try and react in a way that is not triggering to them, and you have to manage your own emotions whilst also caring and deeply loving for them. It's a shit show. Like, honestly, it is so hard, but it is the most wonderful thing, and it is safer than having to do all that without love, and it's more beautiful that doing that without love, right? But you're still gonna have to deal with that. You're still gonna have to deal with that. So you can have to deal with, and that's why when it's like like just love to me is just like the icing on the cake, the cherry on the top, the beauty, the everything and nothing at the same time. I don't know, like it's just so much, right? Like I see it as like I've been living my life as black and white, and they've made it technicolor, and the possibilities have become abundant, but there still were possibilities within me. I still could do it myself. Do you know what I mean? But what they've done is allowed me to face myself with the safety of like just the safety of love.
I'm just taking all of this in. I'm sorry.
It's so wonderful. Like
I feel like I'm on church.
No, like, but honestly, like just love to me has just been like one of the most wonderful and triggering and most like expansive things. It's just like it's God. Like God is love. So how can we try and fit it in a silver spoon? It's the whole fucking bowl. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it's the whole meal. Like it's just literally like, but yeah, like a lot of us don't understand what we want, have never been shown healthy versions of love, and then have so much trauma because of that it makes it difficult, and we do end up like,
oh my God,
having it from the knife.
You're speaking.
Yeah, and but I hope that everyone, like, for one thing, that I was listening to a podcast, I think it's called Spiritual Shit or something, and she was talking about divine partnership, and she said that the desire for love is like a beacon in your heart that creates the possibility. And one thing I would want to say to anyone who wants love is just never give up on love. Like, but you don't have to suffer while still having the desire for it, and the suffering for it is what will stop. I think, like, if you can have the desire and just still keep moving forward with your life and creating the opportunity for love to come, then you are more likely to find divine partnership and find the person that can meet you where you are. I think if you're yearning for it and like suffering because you don't have it, you're more likely to eat love off a knife. Do you know what I mean? Because it comes from a place of like fear-based, and love and fear are not compatible. They're two different languages. I think there's this book called Conversation with God that says that all human beings' actions can be brought down to two things, and that's love and fear. And anything you do will come down to one of those two things, and like they're not compatible. So if you're moving from fear-based, love is going to elude you, because it just won't, in my opinion. Other people may disagree.
That was amazing. No, honestly, that was amazing. I feel like this. I'm gonna go a little bit off topic now, but have you ever watched Married at First Sight?
Oh yeah, I love it.
So, I was watching Married at First Sight, the UK one, right?
I watched this season.
Yeah, this season.
I watched
with Morag and all of that.
Nah, Morag was not okay, but
I bring it up to say, like the wisdom that you gave was giving me one of the relationship advisors, you know, the cool one with the colorful shoe. And like, I love that show because it's like they're going into marriage, you know, divine partnerships for like hoping to be married for forever. And for the people that I worked for, it completely worked. But for the people that I didn't, you saw their trauma influence them in a different way. And that's why I really like, well, I didn't like the fact that they were traumatized, but I like the fact that you had all of the relationship advisors, like sort of safeguarding them as well, because that information displayed loads of experiences on the outside world, not just in the TV show. And the wisdom obtained by divine partnerships is like no other. However, because we've experienced unhealthy love, sometimes we just don't want to put ourselves forward. We don't want to be willing to it. So like, I'm really grateful and appreciate you're just, I'm so happy I asked you that tweet now. I didn't even tell you that I was going to show you that tweet. I thought I'd do a little safer. No, honestly, that was a great conversation. Like, we should probably get into the real episode, shouldn't we? Nah, I'm so excited. Say goodbye to the DM Talks family, Reanne. Goodbye.
Bye.
See you next week.
See you next week.